Welcome. This is 80 Unplugged, a podcast featuring songwriters. Our goal is to feature artists from all different parts of their musical journey and dive into the story behind their creative process and their music. I'm AD, a songwriter and music enthusiast, and on today's podcast, we have a very special guest. He's a multi-instrumentalist, music producer, and the front man of the state college staple, My Hero Zero. It's Jason Olcese.
Hello.
Hello. How are you today, Jason?
I'm fantastic.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, how are you?
Doing well. So he's going to perform an original song, and then we'll get into it.
Wanna know what it's like to be down on my knees, praying and begging. I didn't wanna crawl with my face down in the dirt. I got so much left to learn, but I'm down on my knees, praying and begging and pleading. I'm beating like a love. Watch you say something so cold. How do you know how to make it hurt? I swear to God that I've got nothing but love. Watch you say something so cold. How do you know how to make it hurt? I swear to God that I've got nothing but love. I didn't wanna show you who I am, and I thought I was a man on my feet, telling you all the ways you were wrong. Now I can see it might be too late for me. Know that you might have to leave, but I'm nothing but love. Nothing but love. I swear to God, I've got nothing but love.
Wow, Jason, that was great. What was that song called, and why did you pick it for the podcast?
Well, so the song that I just performed is called Nothing But Love. And I picked that for the podcast because it's a song that I wanted to explore in a different way. It's one of my favorite songs to perform with the band My Hero Zero. But when we do it, we kind of we rock really hard with it. And when I wrote it, it kind of there was there was more depth to what I was feeling.
Nuance?
Yeah. And I feel like I wanted to pull it out and feel it differently.
So yeah, the song is usually performed with My Hero Zero as this big rock song. But tonight you performed it with a loop pedal. At your annual showcase at Titan Hollow, you opened with a whole original set on the loop pedal. When did you start performing this way?
I think I started performing this way in the early 2000s. I got a pedal called a Jam Man. It was a little blue pedal that had two tracks, and I started using that to do acoustic shows right around when I was graduating from college. And I I used it until I started to imagine more that I could do with it. And then I got the one that you saw me work with today. I did looping pretty exclusively for maybe 5 or 6 years. And then I joined My Hero Zero, and looping became one of the ways that I express myself, but not a main feature of what I do. When we played this last show, our manager and also my wife, she informed me that I was going to be doing an opening set on the loop pedal and that I would practice for it. So it actually really kind of brought the loop pedal back into my life. I think since the pandemic, I hadn't really been doing much of it. I kind of dug into more studio work and live performance with the band. And it feels really good to have that coming alive for me again.
You come from a family of musicians. You mentioned the 2 music teachers. Mm-hmm. So music has been a constant force in your life. At what point did you take ownership of it? When did it change from something we do, something my family does, to something I do?
I wouldn't say there was a moment, I feel like it's sort of it was always just, I think it was always just something that I did. Right from a young age, there was always this dichotomy of me feeling like there was ways I liked to interact with music, and then there were ways that I was being shown were the right ways to interact with music. With my parents being music teachers, they were big on practicing, right? I'm going to tell you the truth. I hate practicing. It's or let me put that another way. I loathe the experience of feeling like I have to work on a skill set that I'm not interested in, if that makes sense. When I will spend hours, actually probably an unhealthy number of hours, playing music. I'll skip sleep because I'm so excited about certain things with music. And if I had to break it down and look at the amount of time, it would be a lot of practice time. But it's really, truly, mostly just me following what's interesting to me. And so I think right from an early age, there was how I wanted to do music and then how I was supposed to do music. So I'd say that's kind of, if I've never really thought about it this way, and I appreciate the question, but I think that there was always a part of it that was mine, and there was a part of it that was the way I thought I was supposed to do it. And most of my career has been kind of me continuing to step into like, how do I think I want to do it? And how do I want to be with music my way, instead of like, like, what am I supposed to do next? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over the years, you have released music under various names. Jason O, Sir Loops a lot, J.O., Jason Olcese, and of course, My Hero Zero. With each title, you seem to have different influence and style that are all uniquely Jason, but feel like different chapters. Where do these pseudonyms fit into your evolution and identity as a songwriter?
What comes up for me when you say that is the word permission. So like, I think that like deciding who you're going to be as an artist, my identity plays into like what I give myself permission to step into creating. So like, Jason O was, the person I was when I became Jason O, when I started releasing music under that artist name. I was a drummer who learned how to play acoustic guitar, who could kind of like fake playing the guitar because I had good rhythm, and then also happened to be able to like, sing a little jazzy because the rhythm sort of worked for me. But I identified as an acoustic artist, and I had a really hard time thinking outside of that box that I had put myself in. So J.O. is an iteration of me where I was like, I want to make music that involves maybe rap. Maybe there's rap. Maybe there's like strong pop elements. Maybe things that I would never imagine myself doing. And I really liked it, but what I learned was it's just part of me. It's just part of who I am. And then releasing music as Jason Olcese, I think it was kind of another iteration of that, where I was like still kind of like seeking to like what feels authentic to me, and where is that authentic place? Like how can I make the music that I want to make without an identity? But I think I was still just doing the same thing. And releasing music as My Hero Zero has been really one of the best parts of the last few years of my life here. Primarily because I got the opportunity to work with a group of people. The band they're all very, very creative people. And when I take songs that I've written and we kind of like put them through the workshop together, things come out that I never would have thought of. And it also like functions in that permission way where like sitting down with a group of guys and being like, what do you think about these songs? And like songs that I'd kind of be lukewarm on, like there were some of the ones where they were like, that song, that's the one, like let's definitely do that one. And so kind of like when I think of it that way, like it really it's another place where like I get to express, but do it in a way that maybe I wouldn't allow myself to do otherwise. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we just get into the lyric breakdown?
Perfect.
So the first verse goes, I didn't want to feel, I didn't want to know what it's like to be down on my knees, praying and begging. I didn't want to crawl with my face down in the dirt. I've got so much left to learn. I'm down on my knees, praying and begging and pleading. I'm screaming like, could you talk about that?
Yeah. The wrestling of my ego has been a pretty big project in my life. And like growing up and stepping into what it means to be a man and make space for not just the good, special, wonderful parts of myself, but also the parts of myself that are have not arrived and need work and can be painful for the people around me. Is really really hard to step into that space and take on humility as a way of being. And so for me, like those lyrics kind of feel like like acknowledging how painful that process was growing up.
So what would you say it means to be a man?
It's funny. I really have a hard time talking about this because like when I
would you rather not?
No. I'm really happy to talk about it. Okay. When I say I have a hard time talking about it, I have a hard time landing in a place where I've yet to really feel like I describe this well. Because when I've tried to describe this before, I feel like all I do is talk about being human. So so maybe that is exactly it. Like being a man for me means stepping in fully into being human. So I think like the words that like pop into my head are like things that are like very culturally like man things, like do whatever it takes, get the job done, and those things are really important for me to like have stepped into. But I think it's what comes up for me is every boy has an image of their father in their mind, and usually it's uncharacteristically bright or uncharacteristically dark. Like my dad is so great, or my dad's just an awful person, and for me, becoming a man involved kind of like this backwards process of sort of like accepting that, I don't know if you would call it God or the universe or whatever you consider the nature of life or existence to be, that is the forces at play in nature are dark and light. It's the rolling mountain hills on a beautiful sunshiny day that feels like driving into heaven, and it's floods and famine and pandemics and tragedy, and all of that exists in the same place, and it is not one or the other. It's the whole thing. And so like kind of like growing into a space where like I can make space for all of that out here, and for my father, for the men in my life, but also for myself, like build a room inside myself for all the good things, but all the dark things. Does that make sense?
How does your father tie into it? Like accepting his humanity helps you accept your own, or am I misreading that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's I read I think the book was called Iron John. There was a line that said, like, if you want to invite your father into really into your life, the process first involves you building a house in your home inside that is for the good parts and the bad parts. And once you've built that room for yourself, then your father can come and be there with you in it. And I think culturally, we men we're generally having an identity crisis. Like being a man is not popular right now. It's like not like there's like, if you look into the political, spectrum, it's sort of like young men are angry and disillusioned, and it's because culturally I feel like there's not like they feel like there's not a place for them. And I think that in my personal work, what I've found is that moving from boyhood to manhood is something that in many cultures in the world, there's a moment or a ritual or a rite, like a rite of passage, where like there's a tribe where in their rite of passage they knock out a tooth, and so for the rest of that person's life, that missing tooth it's a real, tangible, painful experience that marks a moment where they ceased to become coddled and young and playful and not, filled with the responsibility of the people around them and themselves. And that moment happened, and now they're on the other side, and something's changed. They've changed, And like our culture we don't have that moment. Like, what is it? High school graduation, college graduation? Like, I'm not.
But like, even with those, you'll graduate high school and you'll still be a kid, and you graduate college and people still are like, okay, well, you're just a kid out of college. Like, you're just a kid out of high school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I think that men, like I used to say, like men are kind of like 10 years behind women in maturity, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's kind of how what my experience of the world was. But I think the men just take a really long time to grow up because we don't have systems in place for doing that. So really this song for me, like kind of like digs into that place where I was doing a lot of personal work at the time and wrestling with what it means to be a man and what it means to like kind of like just like hard chop off that place where like, but I want my mom to love me. I'm a good boy, right? It's not that I've like shed the little boy and like, moved on to become a man. It feels a little bit like I've split identities, if that makes sense. And so like as a creative person, I feel I find that the part of me that is writing is the little boy. Like that little boy is like, ooh, that beat sounds fun. And like, oh my God, can you hear whenever I play those notes together, how like it goes like, wah, 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 like that's the part of me that wants to explore. And it is also my responsibility to myself and to the art for me to show up for that part of myself, to be like, oh my God, that song is amazing. That's so perfect. Like, I love what you've done. That's amazing. That's perfect. Like, lovely. And then the adult version of me shows up and is like, are we going to do something with this? What do you guys think of this? And like, like what can I do to bring more out of this? And like, kind of like, does that make sense what I'm saying? Like, that part of me goes to work and gets the job done. And part of that work is making space for the child, the little boy inside of me to explore and to play and to feel safe.
You struck a chord with me. This, for one thing, I think that everyone should relearn how it feels to be a child without feeling like they are a child. Maybe it's a cultural thing that we tell kids that creativity is a childish thing, so they have to grow out of it, or like exploration is a childish thing, so they have to grow out of it.
Yeah. So the education system in our culture, it takes that creativity and it sort of, I feel like, just trains it out of people. And so I know for me as a songwriter, one of the things that I'm trying to do is to like get back into that child mindset of like playing on the floor and like, just like digging in. Like if you had a kid that came up to you and was like, come look at my truck. And you were like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, let's check out that truck. And then he was like, my truck could pull your car and the school bus at the same time. You wouldn't be like, no, it couldn't. You'd be like, wow, that's really cool. That's like, that's a big, powerful truck you've got there. Right. And so like that space I think it's important to be in for me, for creativity, so that I can kind of like, work outside of the boxes that I make for myself. But anyways, so we were talking about lyrics.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that would lead us into the chorus, and the chorus goes, love, why'd you say something so cold? How do you know how to make it hurt? I swear to God that I've got nothing but love. You want to dip into that a little?
Yeah, it's the wild, pained cry of that little boy, kind of like wrestling with like the part of me that gets hurt really easily. And I think I'm identifying that with being a child, but certainly as an adult, like it can be painful to feel misunderstood and feel hurt by the things the people around me are saying, for sure.
There are times in your songs where I feel like your word choice is very interesting and paramount to the nature of the song. Like in your song Mountains, you say, I built it myself. And the word built implies intention. And I feel like it's really important to the moral of the song because it's like you created your own obstacle. I see a similar intentionality with the word cold. Could you talk about why you chose the word cold?
The word cold for me, it felt like it was really like kind of hitting all the right places. Like it's saying what I wanted to say, which is like, you could replace the word cold with like, why did you say something so hurtful? But also like very specific, like specifically there's a, nuance to the word in the context that's saying like I'm feeling left out in the cold. I'm feeling kind of like abandoned. Like emotionally, I'm like kind of like I feel like people overuse the word triggered right now. But like I'm triggered, and when I get triggered, when I have a nervous system response to things, I shake. My body will shake and kind of like I'll feel a vibration or sometimes a bigger shaking.
Yeah, like it's a physical reaction.
Yeah, and like that's like it can feel very, very cold. It can feel like even in a warm room, I can feel freezing. And so I think that like in like the kind of the motif here of this song is feels like to me like a relationship piece, and like it's in the story of this song, it's me feeling triggered in a relationship and saying like I'm so upset by the things that you're saying and the way that it feels to be in a relationship right now that I'm shivering. I'm feeling cold. That was cold. Ouch.
Wow, that's very interesting. Like, because being cold is like a physical reaction. So like thinking of it as like your physical like reaction in a way is interesting. Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and get into the second verse. I didn't want to show you who I am, and I thought I was a man, on my feet, telling you all the ways you were wrong. Now I can see it might be too late for me. I know that you might have to leave, but I'm down on my knees, praying and begging and pleading. I'm bleeding like. Let's hear it.
It's I think it's kind of follows the thread of that first verse where it's I'm talking about kind of like digging into the expression of what it means to bring boyhood into manhood and feel right and justified all the time, and kind of like accepting that that's not going to work for me as a way of being in the world. Is that's kind of like in those words I'm like talking about that, not the moment of realization, but like kind of like arriving at that realization of like, this isn't, in my experience, this isn't going to work for people. It's not going to work for a long-term partnership, and it's not going to feel good to the people around me. And it's, I'm going to have to own that and step into a new way of being.
One thing I really like about your songwriting is that you acknowledge your own faults in the situations that seem to inspire your songs. Like, you're not the hero or protagonist. You're a normal person with normal emotions. Can you talk about how you have the confidence to write with such a level of vulnerability and introspection?
Well, the introspection has always been easy. I mean, I've got an active thinker, so I, just thinking about a lot of stuff, and that includes myself and kind of like digging into philosophy and philosophizing my experience and what's going on here, and so like that side kind of easy, but the vulnerability, I think that for me, the place that I'm writing from is like big and wide and open and raw, and so it's almost like that's what I'm going there to get, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to write a nice song. Like, if I tear up a little bit, I did a good job songwriting. If I'm crying, I did a great job songwriting. I don't care if the song, regardless of if I ever play that song again, that moment was valid and like really important for me in my life and the way that the work that I want to do. So that's the place I try to get into, is like it is vulnerable because that's what I want from that experience myself.
Well, we're coming to the end. I wanted to start asking this question to the songwriters I have on this podcast. What is the best piece of advice you could give a fellow songwriter?
Write a bad song.
Write a bad song.
Write a bad song. The thing about writing a bad song is that it can be like you're going to, by attempting to write a bad song, you will naturally bump into what you think the rules are. Because we've all made rules up. Some of them are sort of like naturally, like we've kind of absorbed them culturally. Like, a song should be about 3.5 minutes long. Maybe it's like the good ones have bridges, right? But like the way that music is moving these days, like a lot of songs don't have bridges anymore. People regularly release music that is 2 minutes long now at this point, and so like the rules seem to be changing for music, but still, as a songwriter, what I want to do is I want to write a good one, right? And so that can kind of like bump me into a lack of flexibility around my creativity. And so
feeling like there's a formula?
Yeah. Well, trying to write a good song. So like when I engage in this practice, I find that like I will kind of like, it's almost like my rules, the things that are like getting in the way of me like expressing myself, those just like kind of like pop to the surface. So like when I think like write a bad song, I'm like, well, yeah, but it should probably have different kinds of parts. Like there should definitely like I'll write a bad song, but it should at least have like a verse and a chorus, right? I'm like, okay, well that's a rule that I've made, that a song should have distinctly different sections, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe my bad song does not have distinctly different sections. It's just the same.
Is he saying to just flip your process inside out?
Flip your process inside out. Absolutely. Now, go ahead and try that and see what happens. For me, like Mountain, for example, that is a song that I started as an attempt to write a bad song.
Wow.
And it's one of my favorite songs that I've ever written.
That's actually my favorite song of yours. I was actually hoping you'd pick it. That's like,
oh, yeah?
Yeah. I love the song. I'm sorry.
I would have loved to play that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the part where you say, when people tell you you are broken, you believe them. I'm like, that's so much of like people's adulthood is unwriting that in their head.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah.
Ain't that the
truth? That's really cool. So if I write a bad song, I'll come out with my favorite song.
Well, so now that's the trick. Your brain, because you are armed with an adult brain that is so smart. Yeah, it'll if you got to try to like enter at a place where like you know the trick, but you don't know the trick. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it is also interesting because I feel like in my head there's subject matter that you don't touch as like a songwriter. And as I've gotten back into songwriting, I'm like, why? Why did I ever think that? Like, why did I ever think, like, I had this rule in my head. You couldn't talk about modern day technology. Call, like phone. Like, I'm like, for some reason, teenage me when I was writing songs wanted it to all sound like timeless in a way. But why is it off limits? Like, and you think of some of like your favorite songs and they're about like just the most, like Paved Paradise. I'm sorry. You Big Yellow Taxi.
Yeah.
You're like, that is probably one of the best songs ever. And in a pink hotel, a boutique, and a swinging hotspot, I would have never written those words down, but I think that song is great. Okay. Let's hit some stuff. You guys just had an album come out last year. I would encourage everyone listening to this podcast to go listen to that. And Nothing But Love is on there. So you'll hear the studio version.
So I was so stoked to do the version that I did today because like the thing that inspired this song was the sound that I start the performance with today. Yeah. And like I found that sound on the synthesizer part of the keyboard, and I just like heard it and I was like, oh, that just like hit so hard. And I recorded that sound. So it was in my original demo. And like unanimously, the guys in the band were like, no, we got to nix. They were like, what? There's something happening in the mix that I don't like. And we like started soloing things and then we found that sound. They're like, yeah, that's got to go.
And you're like, but that was...
I was like, oh, but that's the coolest sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like just selfishly really excited about, having an opportunity to put that in. And then also I want to, listen to it. I want to see that happen.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked to watch the video from earlier today.
Whoop, whoop. On the topic of Nothing But Love, you just released a music video for it.
Yeah. We filmed the video at Titan Hollow. Huge shout out to Titan Hollow. We played our original show there, and they have an amazing space. The staff and the owners are wonderful people. And filmed by Johnny Baker. He's runs Collaborative podcast. He's part of Relic Arts. He's a phenomenal videographer, and he had a vision for the shoot. And we're stoked about it. It looks incredible.
It does.
When I watch it, it's the kind of thing that makes me kind of reevaluate like what I think about what I'm doing in life, and that's kind of like the kind of experience that I want to be having whenever I'm digging into, new artistic pursuits. So, definitely, if you're watching this, the next thing you should do is, obviously stream the album and then go to YouTube and type in My Hero Zero Nothing But Love and check that video out.
We'll link it in the description. And speaking about the description, we're going to be linking everything for Jason.
Let's go. Link it up.
Yep. Please check out that. And we'll also have all the links on our blog. We'll have a full blog post with links to the episode and the performances and stuff like that. So please go check out the blog on our website. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
I've really enjoyed being able to talk to you.
Same.
And thank you for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this episode, please follow us. You can find us on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and now TikTok. We made a TikTok. For more information about our guest, our goals, or to be a guest on this podcast, please visit 80unplugged.com.